Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest Missouri Valley Conference Baseball Rawlings First Pitch segment, where we interview every head coach around the Missouri Valley Conference for the 2025 season as we head towards the Missouri Valley Conference Baseball Tournament at Duffy Bass Field in Bloomington Normal in May. That'll be a lot of fun, but a lot of baseball to be played until that point. And today, we are happy to be joined by Murray State head baseball coach Dan Skirka. First off, Coach, I appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Um, last weekend you started conference play series against Evansville, always a tough customer there. Weekend probably didn't go how you had hoped, but what did you think of your team's bounce back to win the second game of a doubleheader on Saturday, given that those doubleheaders are just long days and you can't always bank on getting a bounce back in that situation?
No doubt. And that's what we talked about, after we lost game one of that doubleheader was, fellas, we don't have any time to feel sorry for ourselves. We don't really have much time to reflect on what went wrong. We just got to come out and go get this game three and empty the tank and do what we got to do. So I was proud of them. I was, that they bounced back and were able to get that one. But like you said, the weekend didn't go as planned, but Wes always has a tough Evansville team, and they came ready to go. And unfortunately, we didn't win the series.
Yeah, first game of the series, you did a nice job against Kitten Deverman, arguably the most accomplished arm in the league, and it just ends up being a one run loss. Easy enough for me to say. What do you got to do in the future to kind of flip those one run games? What's your philosophy on those kind of close games and what you have to do?
Man, we've been in so many of them this year. I don't know the exact number, but our wins and losses, it feels like everything's been a one-run game. We've been in 5 or 6 extra inning games. We've walked off multiple teams. We've been walked off a couple times. So it's going to serve us well down the road. But that's what I got to figure out, right? Like how do we get our guys in better situations and to win those? And maybe it's using some pitchers in different spots, earlier rather than late, or going to a different guy. And maybe sometimes it's executing just a little bit better to find an earlier run, in the fourth, fifth, or sixth inning. So, but the guys are learning. That's the main thing. I think Joe. Not to make an excuse or anything, but we got canceled early a lot. We lost. I think we're 5 or 6 games down in our schedule. 2 weekends where we didn't get to play. And I think that cost us. That cost us a lot of reps, a lot of those innings, a lot of those situations. So we're playing a little bit of catch up. The last couple of weekends now, 2 doubleheaders. The weekend before, we were in Evansville playing a doubleheader, and then moved to Marion, Illinois, to play USI in a doubleheader, and then this weekend we had to play another one. So it's been a unique spring in that aspect. But the guys are starting to find a groove, and like I said, it's on me to find them and better situations to perform.
Previous to that series this past weekend, you actually scored a win over Kentucky, another one run game. What do wins like that mean for a program?
Well, I think, the guys see it as a little bit of validation of who they are and the work they're putting in. We as a coaching staff here believe we got a good team. We believe in our guys, but anytime they can go to a place like Kentucky and win a game, I think it just kind of gives them a little bit of confidence that, hey, we can do this. And you see them walk around a little bit different, and you're just happy for them that they can get something like that memory the rest of their life. And so many guys stepped up in that game. I mean, we had some great pitching performances. We played some great defense. We had some timely hitting. We executed some bunts. A lot of things that went to that win. So definitely one that they can be proud of.
I imagine you have to be pretty satisfied, especially given that you were replacing some pieces there with what you've gotten from the rotation just in general so far this season.
Oh yeah. As far as we only unfortunately got 2 games at the conference tournament last year, but everybody that pitched at the conference tournament is gone. So as far as experience goes, Ethan Like, is our most experienced guy as a junior left-hander, and he's done a great job, anchoring the staff and going about his business. But yeah, then all the newcomers, it's taken some getting used to, and I think that's where some of those weekends missed has been tough. We're still trying to figure out who can do what where. But they've been awesome. We had 2 guys down this past weekend, in Isaac Silva and Harper McClendon, and that hurt, but we need some other guys to step up. So I think they'll be back this upcoming weekend, and so we'll have a full stable of arms ready to go, and they should be pretty confident because they've done some good things.
You've got a real dude in the bullpen in Zintko. I mean, what has he done that's made him so effective this season?
He's really another starter. And just the flexibility of him having him, he can come in and as a reliever, it's not just a 1 inning or a 2 inning. He can go 3, 4, or 5 innings out of the bullpen. So it's a nice little security blanket that we have there. Knowing that he is so good, and we've told him that he could easily start. It's multiple pitches for strikes. It's multiple pitches in any count. As a left-hander, he controls the running game. He fields his position. He's been awesome for us. So, obviously he's going to keep getting the ball, and in what situations, time will tell. But it's going to be a lot. I can tell you that.
On the offensive side, I know you were excited about Will Veerling coming into the season, and he's lived up to that expectation. And specifically, I wanted to ask about how rare his combination of power and plate discipline is, in your career and players you've coached. And for those watching who aren't familiar with the numbers, he's got 7 home runs today as we record, but also 19 walks and just 5 strikeouts. So to be
Yeah.
able to access that kind of power without having a ton of swing and miss, like how rare is that?
Yeah. He's off to a great start, and he's really, kind of what we've been trying to get our guys to buy into, is that plate discipline. When you get your pitch, hammer it, put your good swing on it, and drive the baseball. And then when you get to 2 strikes, you got to make a 2-strike adjustment. And a lot of his hits have come with 2 strikes. He's tough to put away because he doesn't chase, like you said, outside of the zone. So he's just been a really good example of what you're trying to be as a hitter. So we were excited about him coming into the year. Like you said, we had no idea he'd do that well. But he's worked, and he's put the work in, and obviously he's talented. So now that he's getting the chance to do it every single day in the lineup, he's taking advantage of it. So, we need to we've had some really nice performances around him. And I think we just got to find some consistency from everybody else. And then we can kind of really get rolling.
One of your top returners, Carson Garner, maybe not the start of the season that he was looking for, but a good weekend for him.
Yes.
How much of that is kind of evidence of maybe him starting to come around a little bit?
Yeah, and again, I think that goes back to just a little bit the inconsistency of playing. He didn't get the at bats early on, and Carson is a little bit more of a rhythm guy, and he's found his groove a little bit. He had really good at bats against Southern Indiana 2 weekends ago. Against Kentucky, I think he went 2 for 2 with 2 walks, including a home run, and then he carried that over into the weekend. So, he is one of those guys, that can carry us by himself. But we're just asking to get a little bit more consistent. Just grind every time you're in the box, and be a really good productive at bat. And we got multiple guys that can step up around him. He doesn't have to do it all himself.
This week's a little bit different in that you don't have a scheduled midweek game
Yeah.
ahead of your road series against Illinois State. How do you handle a week like this, given that you don't have the rhythm of a Tuesday game followed by getting ready for the weekend?
Yeah, we talked about it as a coaching staff. We're going to do a little bit of a self scout. And usually it's a quick turnaround. You're getting ready for your midweek opponent today. This morning, last night. The turnaround in college baseball is so fast in that aspect. Sometimes it's nice. Now we get a chance to dig into our guys a little bit, and coach them a little bit more. We'll probably do some simulated games this week with some guys that haven't got to pitch, and get them on the mound, and keep our guys seeing the baseball in the batter's box. But we get a chance to coach our guys, and that's always good too. And instead of digging in on video and scouting reports, now we get to get hands on with our guys and make some adjustments this week leading up to what we're expecting to be a really tough series with Illinois State.
My last question for you is actually on a totally different note. So I have never had the pleasure of being out to Johnny Reagan Field. Look forward to making it out someday. But I notice when I watch games, behind the right field fence, there's a garage that people are sitting on top of and sitting in. What is that? And like,
Yeah, well, one,
what's
you're
what's the
always
deal
welcome,
there?
man. Come on down, man. We'll,
Appreciate that,
we'll
Coach.
we'll we'll set you up. Well, actually, we'll put you in one of those.
All right, yeah.
But
Tell us a
yeah,
little bit
we
about
we
that setup.
we got two of them out in right field. It's kind of unique. They removed 2 springs ago. They removed the wall pads, so on the ground level, they got a garage door that'll open up. They can get in there. They can grill. They can get out of the elements. Yeah. Then on top, there's a platform to where they can stand on, and they're above the outfield fence. So It's a pretty good seat. One of them is some local guys, some of our donors, supporters. There's a group of guys that they'll bring their kids out there and have a good time. Then the other one, a group of our parents went in together and split it, and they kind of keep all their supplies there all spring, their grill, their lawn chairs, and every weekend they can come out and have a little experience out there. So it is a little unique. It does add a little atmosphere to Johnny Reagan Field. But like I said, man, you're welcome anytime. It's a great place to catch a ball game if you've never been to Murray.
Yeah, especially when it's, this time of year where the weather's finally starting to warm up a little
Yeah,
bit week to week, but it's not hot yet, right? Like that, and that cover comes in clutch when it's, you get the sun out, you're trying to keep keep from getting looking like a lobster by the end of the weekend. So it's a good little
for
setup
sure,
out there. So
for
yeah,
sure.
obviously looking forward to getting out there at some point, Coach. I appreciate the invite. Don't tempt me with a good time, I guess is what I'm saying.
We'll take care of you,
Um,
man.
all right, Coach. Appreciate you joining us today. Again, that's Murray State head baseball coach Dan Skirka. Looking forward to speaking with you again down the road, Coach, and good luck the rest of the spring.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for this edition of Missouri Valley Conference Baseball Rawlings First Pitch. Continue to join us every week as we interview every coach around the Missouri Valley Conference leading up to the MVC tournament in May at Duffy Bass Field. Take care, everyone. Talk to you soon.